Louisiana's Way Home, Chapter 6. Read by Mrs. Felsing, that is me, and recorded by Dash. Woo! Okay, here we go. Chapter 6. The clock in Dr. Fox's office said it was 9:47. I was struck by how much had happened since 3 a.m. So remember, last time we read in chapter 5, they were going to, remember Louisiana was taking her grandma to the dentist, right? Because she was having all that awful pain. So now they're at the dentist, or they're getting closer to the dentist. And now let's see if the dentist will actually treat grandma. Okay, back to the beginning. The clock in Dr. Fox's office said it was 9:47. I was struck by how much had happened since 3 a.m. I had been kidnapped by Granny. We had crossed over a state line. We had run out of gas. I had eaten 14 very small bags of peanuts. I had seen my life flash in front of my eyes. I had met Ernest. I had found a dentist. And I had driven the car. My goodness, I said to the lady behind the desk at Dr. Fox's office. Would you look at the time? So much has happened. I was going to tell her about my amazing exploits, or at least some of them, but it was very clear that the woman was not in a good mood. She was staring at me and tapping her pencil against the desk. Her lips were very thin. Yes, she said. I smiled at her. I said, good morning. My granny is in desperate need of a dentist. I expected the receptionist to say something along the lines of, well, you aren't exactly in the right place. But she didn't say anything at all. Instead, she bent her head and started flipping through the pages of an appointment book. I stood there and waited. The office smelled like peppermint and rubbing alcohol. There was some music playing above our heads. It was a sad and wordless kind of song. On the desk, there was a sign with white letters that said, Mrs. Ivy. I thought that was a very pretty name for someone with such thin lips. Mrs. Ivy? I said. She looked up at me. This is an emergency, I said. Do you have an appointment with Dr. Fox? I do not have an appointment because it's an emergency, I said in a very patient voice. You cannot make an appointment for an emergency because emergencies are entirely unexpected. You see, my granny is in a great deal of pain. I'm afraid they're all booked up today, said Mrs. Ivy. Her lips got even thinner. May I speak with Dr. Fox, please? I said. You most certainly may not, said Mrs. Ivy. There's one other person in the waiting room, an older woman who was working on a crossword puzzle and pretending not to notice that the receptionist and I were engaged in a battle of wills. This is what Granny called situations like this, a battle of the wills. She always told me that I could win any battle of the wills. Your opponent will be willing to give up at some point, but you must never give up. The trick is to never give in. Be wily and remember, no retreat. You must never retreat. So instead of retreating, I was wily. I walked over to the waiting room and went and stood next to the crossword puzzle lady. There was a painting above her head that showed some green trees standing together in the sunshine. In the far left-hand corner of the painting, in a dark puddle of the shadow, there crouched a fox. I stood with my hands behind my back and considered the painting. Was the fox supposed to represent Dr. Fox, the dentist? What are you doing? Said Mrs. Ivy. I am admiring the painting, I said without turning around. I don't need an appointment to admire the painting, so do I. The woman with the crossword puzzle book looked up at me and smiled. Hello, I said. Hello, said the woman. Are you doing difficult puzzles or easy ones? They're medium, said the woman. She had a kind face. Also doing medium crossword puzzles, not too hard, not too easy, made her seem very trustworthy to me. Are you willing to give your dental appointment to someone who is in desperate pain? I said. Pardon? Said the crossword woman. My granny needs help, I said, and I am wondering if you would donate your appointment with Dr. Fox to her. Oh, I'm afraid I don't have an appointment to donate, said the woman. It's my husband's appointment, you see, and he's back there right now getting his teeth cleaned. You need to leave, said Mrs. Ivy. I assumed that Mrs. Ivy was talking to me and not to the medium crossword puzzle lady, but I had no intention of leaving. And in any case, it all ceased to matter, because at that moment, Granny opened the door to Dr. Fox's office and came staggering in with her hand to her mouth. She was howling in a truly impressive way. So we read next time. Let's find out what happens with Granny.